Hello and welcome to another episode of Game Theory, the number one DraftKings prep show in all of the land. I'm your host, Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and in this very episode, guys, we got a banger, a bunch of bangers, 14 of them, in fact, because this is UFC 280. Finally, we are here, the best card probably of the year, at least in recent memory. Going to be fantastic. There's some absolute, like I said, some bangers on this card, and we are going to get into all of them from a DraftKings perspective right about now. So before we get started, guys, just hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you are new here, please do that as well, especially if you find some of this enjoyable, informative, any of that stuff. So be sure to do that for me. A little bit goes a long way for this channel. And guys, we are 11 away from 400. Please help me get to 400 before UFC 280 this Saturday. I know we can do it, guys. Without further ado, let's take about 45-50 minutes or so and get into these fights. First fight of the night, Lina Landsberg going against Carol Rosa. I like Carol in this one. I'm not putting any of, I'm probably not playing a ton of Lina Landsberg at all. She's over 40, closer to 41 than 40, actually. 79 points per win, 2.5 points per minute. Yeah, not impressed. 25%. So one out of her 4 UFC wins, she's put up over 90, never hit triple digits. Gives up a ton of points in takedowns, control time. 60% of her 5, so 3 of her 5 losses, her opponents have scored over 90. I like Carol here. I'll be paying some chalk. 9,200, 4.48 points a minute, guys. That's the highest number out on the entire card with fighters that have at least 3 UFC fights. 4.48 raw DraftKings points per minute. Averages 100 and almost 105 when she wins. Incredible. Only 420 over her average salary. Scores basically, just over a point in takedown and control time. 3 of 4 of her wins, she scored over 100 points, one of them over 110, so she can score, unlike Lina Landsberg. The only thing Landsberg has going for her is her strength of schedule. Both of these women got decisioned by Sarah McMahon, if that's a verb, decisioned by Sarah McMahon. Landsberg dropped 3 of her last 5. Her only wins coming over a probably 40-year-old Tanya Evinger back in 2019, and an impressive win over Macy Chiasson following that fight. So, but Rosa, not quite as good of a strength of schedule, wins over Procopio, Mello, Edwards, Betch, Correa, and then lost to Sarah McMahon. Landsberg's strength of schedule is better, but that age difference is going to come in big, and I like Carol Rosa here. The projections aren't even close, guys. I mean, take a look at these projections here. 20-point difference. Lina just does not score well at all. Here are my aggregate and UFC professional finishes. Very low percent of finishes. I think this one probably goes the distance. If it does finish early, I'm on the Rosa side, but I'm on the Rosa side for decisions as well. Neither one of these women has finished a fight in the UFC, so that is interesting. All of Carol's wins have gone to decision, and then Landsberg has been KO TKO twice. The rest of her fights have all gone to decision. So give me Carol by decision, 9,200. She's proven that she can score very well, even in decision wins. So I like Carol this week. I won't have probably any of Lina Landsberg. Next fight, I love this. I don't even know if you can still call him a prospect. He only has 2 UFC fights. I guess we could still. Maybe after the third one, we'll get off of that prospect verbiage. Muhammad Mokaev, looking impressive, both of his UFC fights, going against Malcolm Gordon. Both of these guys have made the optimal lineup in both of their past 2 fights. This is like the widest margin of salary we can get, other than Joe Pfeiffer, who some reason they made 9,700. We're not even going to talk about that. 9,600 against 6,600, guys. 96 is a lot to ask for. It has a very poor optimal rate. Only makes, actually wins 83% of the time, but is only made optimal once. 8.33% of the time. It's too expensive to make the optimal. I might have to rethink that with Muhammad Mokaev in this position, guys. He scores 6.33 points a minute, 123 per win. And that, I mean, unless you got 5-6 other underdogs scoring over 120 points, Mokaev could make the optimal lineup. I mean, this guy scores, what is this? Over 5 points a minute in takedowns and control time. This is his entire game. Meanwhile, Gordon gives up 1.52 points in those categories put together. Gordon's strength of schedule is much better. Much better fighting at flyweight than Mokaev's is, but Mokaev finishing Cody Durden in under a minute in his UFC debut, and then just taking it to Charles Johnson. I mean, he put up, 119, almost 120 in a 5-round decision. He had 12 takedowns, guys. I'm expecting to see a lot more of that rinse and repeat takedowns, or at least takedowns and then tons of control time for Muhammad Mokaev until he proves otherwise. Like, there's nothing this kid can't. I mean, he's making optimal lineups. He scored 120, 125 points per win. I know that's only 2 wins and might be a bit early, but unless I see something that changes my mind, why wouldn't I roster him in a decent amount of lineups? 9,600, very, very tough to get to. Love him for cash here, but who wouldn't love the most expensive fighter on the roster for cash most of the time? I like him in GPPs, though. I'll have my fair share. 28 fighters this week. It's going to be hard to get, more than 20-25% of Mokaev, but he might be worth it, guys, at 9,600. I mean, if he scores 120, 130 over Malcolm Gordon, he's in the running. In the running for sure. I love watching that kid fight too. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Excuse my phone. Blah blah blah. Next fight, Armen Petrosyan going against AJ Dobson. Long story short, guys, this is not a fight I will be targeting for DraftKings. I mean, I'll have a little bit in 150s, probably not much in 20 maxes. AJ Dobson, 7,100. He fought, let's see, who was it? Yeah, Jacob Malkoun, who just came off of a fantastic win over Nick Maximoff, where he scored 120 some points, like a 12 takedown. I don't even know how many takedowns. It was a ton. Dobson, though, 1.65 points a minute in that Malkoun fight. Gave up 6.62, and Malkoun scored almost 130 on him. I'm not interested in AJ Dobson. He's going to have to show me before I can do anything here. I mean, he gave up over 3 points a minute in takedowns and control time. That's not really Armen Petrosyan's game so far in the UFC. He has not gone for a ton of takedowns or control time at all. Pretty much a stand-up guy, but he does not score well. 2.63 points a minute average. 81 points per win is very low. He's only given up 80 when he lost, and he's $1,600 over his average salary. I mean, I think he's probably going to be pretty low owned because there's a ton of great fighters up at the $9,000 range this week. One of them, at least, I've already mentioned, or has potential to put up a great score, I should say. But yeah, I think Petrosyan's probably going to be a bit under-owned, so maybe you can get to him a little bit more, but like, he's 1,600 over his average. Like I said, he did make optimal lineup in one of his past 2 fights, but he only scored 81 in that fight and made optimal. There's no way that's happening on this 28-fighter card. He is coming off of a loss to Caio Borralho. It was a pretty close fight, but according to the stats, it wasn't. Caio pretty much dominated. He landed 4 takedowns on him. Looked great, 70, almost 65 to 70% control time. AJ Dobson's strength of schedule, another big red flag here, guys. You want this number at like 65, 70 minimum. Anything better than that is good. Anything less is pretty terrible. We're barely at 50 in a couple of these categories. In fact, in the 40s as far as opponent win rate and strength of victory. Not impressed with AJ Dobson's last 5 fights. The projections here will reflect that. As you can see, like almost a 40-point difference in projections here. And then the finish rate. Most of this is Petrosyan. However, in their careers, which is on the left side here, 83% of their wins have been by finishes, only 33% of their losses. So I do think this one goes to decision. I think Petrosyan probably wins it pretty easily, at least 2 rounds to 1, maybe 3-0. Who knows? I mean, he did look great against Gregory Rodriguez. Like I said, he did end up winning that fight, split decision, very close, but that is a great, great win, and it's aging fantastically. So give me Petrosyan, probably by decision. Not excited to pay $9,100 for him this week, however. Next fight, 2 guys that have not fought. Actually, no, it's just Abubakar Nurmagomedov hasn't fought in over a year and a half. Gadzhi Omargadzhiev, I know that's not how you say his name. I just can't say it any other way in my head. Omargadzhiev. Omargadzhiev. That's too many syllables for me. Omargadzhiev. That's ridiculous pronunciation, but that's what we're going with. It sounds like Brad Pitt off Inglourious Bastards. Buongiorno. I forget what he said. Arrivederci. That's what it is. Omargadzhiev. So that's what we're going to go with here. Gadzhi, we'll call him Gadzhi. 0-1 in the UFC. Dropped his UFC debut again to the aforementioned Caio Borralho, who's also on this card. Very excited to see what he can do this week. Abubakar Nurmagomedov, 3.27 points a minute, 75 is what he scored in his one UFC win. He did beat Jared Gooden, lost to David Zawada in his UFC debut. That is not a good look. Okay, apparently my mute button doesn't work. I apologize for that. Or I just have to push it several times before it actually works. So I'll either try to not cough anymore or really get that button mashed. Gadzhi scoring even worse than whoever we just talked about in the last fight, AJ Dobson, 1.45 points a minute. I'm just not excited for this fight, really, at all. Both guys have a little bit of takedown and control time points. Nurmagomedov actually scores many more than Omargadzhiev, 1.18 points per minute in those categories, while Gadzhi gives up 1.68 points per minute in those categories. Where are my scoring percentages here? Yeah, no one scored or given up 100 points. Nurmagomedov did give up over 100 in his one UFC loss, or over 90, sorry, in his one UFC loss, but no triple-digit scores here. I'm just not impressed with the scoring. This is another one I'm going to have to see it. I'll probably have a little of these guys rostered because you have to. One of them could, kind of go off or finish the other one. Who even knows? Let's see. Oh, the Caio Borralho fight, he lost. That was a decision, but I forget what you call it. Technical decision, because of a bunch of fouls or something. I don't remember. But yeah, Nurmagomedov has the better last 5 strength of schedule. I'm not really too excited about anyone. Salary Voodoo says play Nurmagomedov. Where's my salary Voodoo numbers here? The salary of 8,700 has a win rate of just under 75%, and it makes optimal 34% of the time. So 8,700 is a great salary to play. So maybe I'll have more Nurmagomedov than Gadzhi for sure, especially with that 1.45 DraftKings points per minute. That is straight garbage. So give me Nurmagomedov probably by decision, and that's how I will be picking and playing this one. Next fight. Magomed Mustafaev hasn't fought in over 2.5 years. Going against newcomer, UFC debutant Yamato Nishikawa. This kid is 19 years old. He's not going to be, let's see, his birthday is December 6th. He'll be 20 years old. He was born in 2002, you guys. Holy crap. My goodness. 19 years old, going against the 34-year-old UFC vet of 5 fights. 9,500 against 6,700, guys. Again, salary Voodoo. The salary of 9,500 has a win rate of 90.91%. It's the best win rate out of all salaries. Makes optimal just under 49% of the time it fights. Meanwhile, the $6,700 salary has a win rate of 6%, optimal rate of 3%. So if we're just going on that and salaries, then give me Mustafaev probably by decision. I'd be just fine with that. He does score decently well, 3.35 points a minute, almost 98 when he wins, but he's also $1,200 over his average salary, guys. That is not something I'm too excited about, but you get the matchups when you can get them. I have no stats for Nishikawa. As I said, he is a UFC debutant, has no Dana White Contender Series fights. He is 21-3-6. I know a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, he has 6 draws. What the hell? Well, he fought in a promotion where that if you didn't finish the guy, it was a draw, and some of those were even 2-round fights. So of course he's going to have, a record that kind of looks like this. I don't really see any red flags. The only thing I see is a ton of experience for this 19-year-old kid. So no matter how you slice it, even if the fights are less than par, less than decent, 30 fights is pretty freaking good. I don't really care what promotion you're in. So that is some experience at least. I heard he was fighting when he was like 15 or 16, just insane. Anyways, Magomed, 1.58 points per minute in takedowns and control time. He gives up a ton of takedown and control time as well. What else we got here? Strength of schedule. Obviously, it's going to go to Mustafaev. He's fought the much better caliber of opponent. Nishikawa's strength of schedule is in the 50s, but he's undefeated in his last 5. That's the only thing he has going for him. Meanwhile, Mustafaev wins over Hallman Proctor. Lost to Kevin Lee. Beat Rafael Fiziev. It's Rafael Fiziev's one loss was to this guy, Magomed Mustafaev, and then lost to Brad Riddell, split decision. But according to the stats, it was not even that close. Mustafaev should have won that fight. He landed 8 takedowns, 47% control time. My goodness. I don't even know what could have happened. I'm going to have to rewatch that one for sure. He did knock down Rafael Fiziev as well. So first round KO, TKO, 118 points there. He is trending up as far as raw DraftKings points per minute, and his opponents are trending down. We absolutely love to see that. Very low projections as far as decisions go, but some decent round 1 number looks here. Here is the aggregate UFC and professional finishing percentages. Finishes and wins 91%, 100%. So when these guys win, it's a finish. And even in their losses, we're up over 50%. I like Mustafaev probably inside the distance here, based on those numbers. I just can't Yamato is not a dog that I'm looking to play this week at 19 years old, going against a seasoned guy with a V at the end of his name, who's beating the likes of, who did I say? Rafael Fiziev, knocking him out in the first round. Not really going to play the underdog here. I'm going to have to see what he does. I'm going with the salary Voodoo, 91% win rate. Give me Mustafaev. Give me Mustafaev inside the distance, and I'll probably be higher owned on him than Muhammad Mokaev, because the difference on the optimal rate for salaries between 95 and 96 is basically 40-some%. So give me Mustafaev here inside the distance, and I'll be playing a ton of him in GPPs. Next fight, guys. Zubaira Tukhugov going against Lucas Almeida. Tukhugov has not fought in almost a year. Almeida just fought, 4 months ago? Who did he fight? Michael Trizano beat Michael Trizano in his UFC debut. Not only beat him, but finished him. I don't think very highly of Trizano, as a fighter. I don't know anything else about him, but got KO'd by a UFC debutante in the 11th minute, the 10th minute there. So looking pretty good. 7,900 going against 8,300. I like this matchup. I like what, the potential of Almeida, because, who did I just say he fought? Michael Trizano's supposed to be, has some wrestling credentials, a few of them anyway. Obviously, Zubaira does as well. He scores almost 1 point per minute in takedowns control time. Does not score very well, though. 2.24 points a minute and 76 when he wins. So my point there is maybe Almeida can get a couple of things done, work some of that work some takedowns of his own, or just keep this one on the feet. He didn't land any takedowns or get taken down against Trizano, so did score 2 knockdowns in that Trizano fight. So he's going to be looking to do that. Forget what I said about the takedowns. That's not really his game, seemingly. Let's see. He's 14-1 professionally, 5.29 points a minute, and 103 almost when he won. We are paying up for him a bit, $800, but what do you expect? UFC debutante beat Michael Trizano. You're going to have to pay up for that. But still, he's still a dog at 7,900. Did make the optimal lineup in that fight. The problem is Tukhugov allows just 1.75 points a minute and 53.5 when he loses, and he's lost twice in the UFC. Let's see here. One was to Dawodu, and Dawodu scored 57 points, and the other one was to Renato Moicano, and he scored 49 points, so does not give up a ton of points at all. Scored 93 against the Angel of Death, Kevin Aguilar, and against Ramos. Is it Ramos? Is this? I can't remember if he's Brazilian or from south of the United States border, so we'll just be safe and call him double R. Only scored 72 against Ramos there, so I guess, man, this is interesting. Maybe give me a bit of the dog here. I want to see what the dog can do. Tukhugov's been off for a year. Doesn't allow a ton of points, though, so this is going to be an interesting matchup. Give me the dog here. Give me the dog. These guys almost have the exact same birthday. In fact, Tukhugov is 2 weeks older than Almeida, so age isn't going to play a difference here. Give me the dog. Why not? Give me the dog, Lucas Almeida here, 7,900. Next fight, Volkan Oezdemir coming off a nice win over my guy Paul Craig, and then Nikita Krylov coming off of a very nice win in which he flatlined Alexander Gustafsson in less than a minute, was it? Just over a minute. So Krylov, 8,600 against Volkan Ozdemir's $7,600 salary. I'm liking this fight, guys. You have to play this one. A ton of finishes. Let's just scroll right down to the finish rate. Let's go all the way down. Finishes in wins professionally, 87%. Finishes in wins in the UFC, 73%. Getting finished in the UFC, 2/3 of their fights, they've been finished. 73% of their losses, they have been finished as well. So tons of finishes here, especially on the Krylov side. His numbers are ridiculous as far as finishes go. What's that? 8, 12, 13 finishes out of 16 UFC fights. Insane. 4.34 points a minute, 112, almost 113 per win. And guys, he has 9 UFC wins, gives up almost 95 when he loses. He's only 500 over his average. I mean, the guy even scores in triple digits when he wins by decision. 105 when he wins by decision. Meanwhile, Volkan, no time Oezdemir, 2.88 points a minute, 97 when he wins. So not bad numbers. He is actually only $9 under his average salary. That's interesting to see. So pretty much his average. Only allows 2.36 and 80 per loss. Only scores 80 points per decision win. So he's got nothing on Nikita Krylov's numbers. Let's see. Like I said, both these guys, I mean, 8 of 9 of Krylov's wins, he's put up over 100. 4 of them, he's put up over 110. 5 of 7 of his losses, he gives up over 90. I mean, just a ton of points flying around these guys' fights here. This one is going to be probably fantastic on the feet fight for as long as it lasts. If somebody's getting takedowns, it's, oh man, I don't know. It could go either way. Krylov lands more, but he also gives up a ton as well. Volkan, that's not really his game so much, so I'd be kind of surprised if he landed a takedown or two, to be honest. Both these guys' strength of schedule is ridiculously good. Remember when I said 70 to 75 was fantastic? Well, Oezdemir is over 80. He's 82 opponent win rate, 92 strength of defeat, and well into the 70s in his other two categories. Krylov loses every category, but is well above the average and 82 strength of defeat, 78 opponent's win percentage. Fantastic strength of schedules for both guys. Absolutely love it. Krylov did lose to Paul Craig, but Oezdemir beat Paul Craig. Both of them lost to Ankalaev, and that's about where they end as far as common opponents in their last 5. DraftKings points per minute rate trending down as Oezdemir, while his opponents trend down as well. Meanwhile, Krylov just going up and up and up, while his opponents technically going down just a little bit. Here are my projections. Like I said, I love this fight. I think we're sitting in the round 1 finish, round 2 finish categories right here. So 100 points for each of them, and each of those two possibilities is what I am projecting. So I love this fight. I'll be heavy on both sides. As far as who I think wins, I honestly don't know. I guess I'm leaning Krylov, but he has been caught so many times as well. Oezdemir doesn't really sub people. That's how Krylov generally gets finished. So I guess give me Krylov for the win, the early win. But Oezdemir is tough to finish, though. I know a few people have done it in the UFC, but he can be a bit tough. So give me Krylov for the win, 8,600. Either way, I'm rostering both sides of this one for sure. Next fight. Makhmud Muradov coming off of a loss a year ago to GM3, where he got absolutely torched in the second round, going against Caio Borralho. Man, you know where I'm going on this one. I'm not a huge fan of Muradov. I don't really like his fighting style. 2.54 points a minute, 75.8 is all he gets when he wins. He is at an extreme discount, almost $1,800 cheaper than his average salary. So if you're on the Mokaev side, you're getting a deal on him this week for sure. Let's see here. $9,000 for Caio Borralho, 3.37 points a minute, only 78 per win. But this guy's exciting to watch in the cage, so I want to see what he can do against a bit better of an opponent here in Makhmud Muradov. Well, supposedly better. This guy hasn't fought in a year and like 2 months, basically. Only gives up 1.67. Both these guys actually don't give up a ton, but Muradov in his one UFC loss to Meerschaert did give up triple digits. So the salary win rate of 7,200 is just 28%. Meanwhile, we got about a 71% for Caio Borralho. And the salary optimal rate for 9,000 is 32.5%. Fantastic number. That is one of the, if you're over 30 as far as optimal rate go, that is incredible. So Muradov, neither of these guys have a ton of UFC fights, so looking into these trends is not a big deal. Although the takedown points and control time for Borralho is over 2 minutes, Muradov's going to have to, Muradov's going to the ground for sure. He's going to get taken down for sure. Unless Borralho just runs in and gets knocked out somehow in the very beginning of the fight, Borralho's going to take Muradov down, and that's what I'm banking on. The strength of schedule is 10 points better for Borralho here, with wins over Petrosyan and Ghazi. Both unanimous decision wins. Muradov with wins over Di Carico, Trevor Smith, Andrew Sanchez, and then has lost to GM3. So some decent wins, but nobody probably as good as Armen Petrosyan, I would say, to be honest. Muradov is trending up as far as scoring, but his opponents are as well. Same with Borralho, but Borralho's trending up at a much steeper rate. Here are my projections, pretty low. As we've seen, the guys do not score very well on average in their 6 UFC fights put together. So some lower projections here. But the number of losses, let's see, that's only been 1 loss, so never mind. We can't really look at that. Number of finishes in wins professionally. In wins, 73%. In losses, 62.5%. So lots of finishes in these two guys' fights. I'm thinking this one probably goes to decision. If it doesn't, I think Borralho gets the sub, to be honest, or gets the finish. Probably a sub. I like Borralho here a lot I think he's going to get some takedowns. I think he's going to rack up some control time. And I actually like the finish here as well at $9,000. One of the best salaries you can play at that top tier. Like I said, 32.5% optimal. Has a win rate of over 70. I'm really liking what I've seen from Borralho. And until he just shits the bed, I'm just going to keep rostering him, especially at 9K. That's a great price for him. Might not score as well as some of the others, but if he gets that finish, I think it's going to be okay. Next fight, man, I'm excited for this one. I think I'm one of like 3 people other than maybe Bilal's, family members that actually like Bilal Muhammad as a fighter, and I'll look forward to watching him fight. Bilal Muhammad taking on Sean Brady, the undefeated 15-0 Sean Brady. So this is the closest line fight according to DraftKings. 8,000 for Muhammad, 8,200 for Brady. Let's start with Brady. Scores 4.42 points a minute, 99 when he wins. 1.67 per minute is all he gives up, and he's cheaper, guys. Both these guys are cheaper than their average salary, so a fantastic fight to target. 660 under his average salary here. Meanwhile, Bilal Muhammad, 3.49 points a minute, 90 when he wins, so a pretty decent number, especially at that $8,000 range. Gives up only 2 points per minute. Both of these guys have made the optimal lineup. Let's see, 2 out of 5 for Bilal Muhammad and 1 out of his last 2 for Sean Brady. So I'm liking this fight a lot. When Brady wins, 4 of his 5 wins actually over 90, 3 of them over 100. Bilal, 6 of 12 over 90. Let's see, 3 of them over 100. And he's not giving up a ton of points. Actually, in his 2 losses, he did give up over 100, so I kind of take that back. Both these guys score a ton in takedowns and control time. Neither of them give up a ton of points in takedowns and control time at all. In fact, the exact same amount, 0.15 points per minute. So fantastic numbers there. A good strength of schedule from both guys, over 70. We're looking at a damn good fight. These guys are both 5-0 in their last 5. Muhammad with wins over Luke Thompson, Maya, Edwards, and Lima. Actually, he didn't win. That's a no contest. Sorry, my cord was in the way. That was the eye poke where he could not continue. Sean Brady with wins over Chiesa, Jake Matthews, aging very well, Christian Aguilera, Ismail Nardiev, and Court McGee. So some decent names there. Both guys actually know. Muhammad's trending up while his opponents trend down, and Sean Brady trending down while his opponent. But look at the space in between these scores here. What Sean Brady scores compared to what he gives up. These 2 graphs aren't even touching each other, guys. It's not even close. Sean Brady is dominating his fights. Let's not get it twisted. Some decent projections here. And then the average, the professional and UFC career finishing rates. Very low as far as finishes go, guys. This one's going to decision. I'd be shocked if this finished. I think this one's going to decision. I'm leaning Bilal Muhammad. I like both these guys, though. I'm going to have a fair amount because of the takedown potential from both of these guys in my lineups. If you rostered tons of Maximov and tons of Malkoun last week, why wouldn't you roster this fight? This fight's going to be the same thing. Hopefully, neither guy gets injured, and we have a more closely lined and competitive fight. But honestly, I'm liking Bilal here. I think he could possibly give Sean Brady his first UFC loss. And the Twitter timeline, guys, if this happens, go to Twitter immediately. The amount of tears. You're probably going to have to put your phone in rice afterwards, because the tears on your timeline are going to come out of the phone and possibly, short circuit that thing. So might need a bag of rice after Bilal Muhammad wins this fight on Saturday, but we'll see. We will see. That's the way I'm leaning. I'm going to have plenty of both guys, and at 8,000 and 8,200, it's not going to be difficult to get to either of them. Next fight, Caitlin Chookagian going against Manon Fiorot. I am super excited to see what Manon Fiorot can do to Chookagian. Chookagian is 18-4 professionally, 11-4 in the UFC, with wins, over Calvillo, Araujo, Jennifer Maia, and Amanda Ribas. Meanwhile, Fiorot is smashing people like Jennifer Maia, Mayra Bueno Silva, Tabitha Ricci, and Victoria Leonardo. Manon Fiorot has 6 professional knockouts and 9 wins, guys. If you don't know about Manon, her nickname is the Beast for a reason. This is going to be a great fight. Manon hasn't fought in, almost or just over 6 months. Yeah, she beat Jennifer Maia back in, late March. But she KO'd Ricci in the second round, KO'd Victoria Leonardo in the second round. Chookagian has been KO TKO twice in her UFC career. That's exactly how I'd look to play this, guys. I can't wait to see Manon Fiorot just silenced Chookagian. If you don't know about Chookagian, she's one of these hiya fighters whenever she throws. So I'm excited to see Manon Fiorot just silence her. Chookagian, not a good score, 2.39 points a minute, less than 70 per win. Get out of here. Only 9%. So one of her 11 UFC fights, she scored over 90. I believe. Yep, and that was a decision. She is the only fighter, and I forget the exact stat, that has gone over 10. I think it's 11 now. 11 straight wins, or all 11 of her wins. Something I don't know the exact number. She does not have a finish in the 11 wins in the UFC, no finishes. It's a record. So don't roster Caitlin Chookagian. Don't roster Caitlin Chookagian against Manon Fiorot. And Manon, you actually get a discount on her. She is $25 less than her average salary. So has made optimal in 2 out of her past 4 fights. 4 points a minute, 97 when she wins. Gives up only 1.44 a minute. 2 of her 4 wins over 90. 1 of them over 110. And she's got takedowns and control time of her own, guys. She's landing over a 0.98 points per minute in those categories put together. Meanwhile, Chookagian, as far as giving up striking points, is decent, but also allows 0.79 points per minute in takedowns and control time. So give me Manon Fiorot here. Her strength of schedule is much, much better. Caitlin's is okay. It's over 70. Nothing to scoff at. But Fiorot's is better in her last 5. Trending up while her opponents trend down. These 2 graphs not even touching. This doesn't count right here because there's no fight. This should be start here. So yeah, these 2 graphs are not even touching. Meanwhile, Caitlin Chookagian trending down while her opponent is trending up just barely. Actually, never mind. Her opponent's trending down while she is trending up just barely. I can't read my own graph. I mean, look at this graph. Look at this graph. Fiorot just dominating literally every single category. The finishes here aren't really there. I do expect a finish in this one. I think Fiorot can finish Chookagian, and even if she doesn't, I think Fiorot can score very well in a decision. 84.73 points. That's not going to 10x, but yeah, I'm not gonna have much Chookagian here. I'll have a bunch of Manon Fiorot. I'm just really excited to see what she can do here. Next fight. This one's another. I mean, this card is so freaking good. Beneil Dariush going against Mateusz Gamrot. Man, I would be all over Dariush. The one thing that just gives me that bit of hesitation is he hasn't fought in almost a year and a half, guys. He's 7,400. I think this line is way too wide. Way too wide, to be honest. This should be more like 84.78 or 83.79, something like that, in my opinion. 95 is what Dariush scores when he wins. 3.6 points a minute. That is a top 10 score on the card. Only gives up 1.84 per minute. His problem is, though, he gets finished. He's been finished for all 4 of his losses in the UFC have been, by way of finish, 3 KO TKOs. And that's not a good look when you're going against Mateusz Gamrot. So, man, I like Beneil. I like him as a fighter. I mean, 73% of his wins, of his 15 UFC wins, he scored over 90, 40% of them over 100. Gives up a ton of points, though, guys. 3 of 4 of his losses over 90. 2 of them, he's allowed over 110. Scores 1.47 points per minute in takedowns and control time, but Gamrot scores even more than that. 1.97 points in takedowns and control time. Meanwhile, Gamrot, 103 per win, 103.5, only allows 1.86, 76 when he loses in his 1 loss, and that was to Guram Kutaladze. Gave up 56 points. He almost outscored him in a loss. But he's beaten Hot Sauce, Jeremy Stevens, Diego Ferreira, and Arman Tsarukyan. That was a very close fight. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. Apparently I need to know that it is snowing outside while I'm in the house. Let's take a look. Looks like it's snowing outside. Guys, get them hats and booties on. Dariush with wins over Ferguson, Diego Ferreira, Hot Sauce. Wow, these guys have fought a few of the same people. Camacho, and then Drakkar Klose, an all-timer against Drakkar Klose. If you haven't seen that highlight, go watch that motherfucking highlight right there. That's the one where Joe Rogan freaks out more than usual. It's an incredible turn of events in that second round. So check that one out, guys. A ton of finishes and losses, 80% around the board, across the board, around the board, for losses, for finishes and losses, 60% finishes and wins. I think if this one goes to decision, Dariush has a decent chance of taking it, but Gamrot could finish him here. It just depends on what Dariush looks like, man. Like I said, if it was less than a year and a half, or around about a year and a half, I'd be much higher on him, but I honestly think that this line is way too wide. I don't have the actual line in front of me. We could look, actually. These were updated yesterday. Right now, Dariush is plus 157. Gamrot is almost minus 200. I think these lines are too wide. 8,800 for Gamrot. So like I said, I think it should be closer. If this finishes inside the distance, it's Gamrot, though, so you have to put him in. You have to put him in your lineups. He has made optimal in 2 out of his past 4 fights. You got to have some Dariush in there as well. 7,400. I mean, you're getting a steal on him. He's 1,150 under his average salary, guys, of 85.45. So you got to get some Dariush in there, because if this goes to decision, anything could happen. So Dariush could be a big underdog play this week. And like I said, at 28 fighters, a lot of guys with name value like Dariush are going to go way under the radar and have like 20% ownership. So there are some leverage plays out there, especially with the level of talent that we are seeing in these lower end salaries, guys. Here is another one. I mean, main event, Petrosyan going against Sean O'Malley. I mean, if you're not excited for this one, just go watch football or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, go watch 4 hours of commercials with 30 minutes of game time footage. You go do that, because this one is insane. Petrosyan 9,300, Sean O'Malley 6,900. Guys, you're getting Sean O'Malley for $2,200 under his average salary, and you're actually paying up $100 for Petrosyan. Now, a lot of people are thinking, oh, Petrosyan, Sean O'Malley's not even on his level. And while that may be true, guys, the height difference here, the reach difference here, the talent level, there's potential for a huge upset here. 6,900. I mean, Sean O'Malley scores 4 points a minute, 104, almost 105 when he wins. Petrosyan does not give up a ton of points, 2 points a minute, but when he loses, over 90 points. And if O'Malley wins and puts up over 90, that's an optimal at 6,900. I mean, that's an 80% chance optimal right there. Sean O'Malley does not give up a ton. I mean, both of these guys actually look very similar as far as numbers go. I know Petrosyan does not have a long flowing pink hair, but they both score about 4 points a minute. They both score about 105 when they win. Neither of them give up, around 2 points a minute, or both of them rather give up around 2 points a minute, around 95 per loss. Average value is comparable. The average salary is comparable. The win rate for 9,300 is 70%. Win rate for 6,900 is just 26%. Both these guys score very, very well. Let's see, 6 of 8 wins for Petrosyan over 90 points, 5 over 100, and 4 over 110. Meanwhile, Sean O'Malley, 6 of 7 wins over 90, 5 over 100, and then 2 over 110. I mean, O'Malley does give up a few takedowns in control time. Here's what it's going to come down to. If O'Malley doesn't get his freaking leg kicked off, he's got a great chance here of avoiding takedown. I mean, if he starts getting kicked in the leg and then Petrosyan gets some takedowns, this fight is probably going to be over, or it's going to go all 3 and Sean O'Malley's just going to get dusted. But if he can actually check a leg kick or land something and stun Petrosyan early, this could be insane. So I'm just loving the possible outcomes of this fight. I'm kind of rooting for Sean O'Malley. I'm not sure how I feel about Petrosyan exactly. I know a lot of people like him compared to Aljo and whatnot, but we're not getting into that on this show. I like Sean O'Malley for a dog. I mean, the strength of schedule is not even close. O'Malley has a great strength of schedule, over 70 in every category, 76, 74, but Jan's is just better, almost 80 across the board. I mean, lost to Aljo twice, beat Corey Sandhagen, beat Jose Aldo, beat Uriah Faber. Meanwhile, Sean O'Malley's only loss in his past 5 is to Chito Vera. Thomas Almeida, he smashed. Chris Moutinho smashed. Raulian Paiva smashed. Pedro Munoz, that didn't end well. Could not continue. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, his graph's not even touching. Since Marlon Vera, it's not even touching his opponents for Sean O'Malley. Trending up, opponents trend down. He's on another level here. Petrosyan is definitely fighting the better strength of schedule, but he is trending way down. Opponents trending way up. That probably has something to do with him being 1-2 in his past 3 fights. That's right. Petrosyan 1-2 in his past 3 fights. If you're going to sit here and say Sean O'Malley has a loss against Sean O'Malley's word, then you have to admit that Petrosyan got beat by Aljo Sterling twice, because that's what's on paper. So he's 1-2 in his last 5. Has a good chance of beating up on Sean O'Malley here. But honestly, if O'Malley could surprise him with his power or just his timing or something, I don't know. I think O'Malley has a chance. I think Peter Yan has him probably covered everywhere. I'm sure that that's most likely outcome is that Peter Yan wins by decision. But I really think Sean O'Malley has a puncher's chance, for lack of a better term. So I love this fight. I'll have a ton of Sean O'Malley. He might be one of my higher owned underdogs. Him and Beneil Dariush probably are going to be up there for me as far as dogs. So this one's going to be freaking fantastic, guys. I cannot wait. Co-main event, guys, Aljamain Sterling going against TJ Dillashaw. We're at 39, almost 40 minutes. We'll run about another 10 minutes here. Stick around for the end of the video. I'll show you CM Monk's picks as well before we skate on out of here. The Funk Master, Aljamain Sterling, going against TJ Dillashaw. What do you want to say about this one, man? A lot of people on Dillashaw this week, 7,700 against 8,500. Both guys have made optimal lineups in the past few fights. Sterling scores 3.42 points a minute, 95 when he wins. Dillashaw scores better than that, 3.9 a minute, 110 when he wins. Neither guy gives up a ton of points, but Dillashaw does give up more points per loss, while Sterling gives up only about 77 on average. Dillashaw's 550 under his average, while Sterling is 450 over his average. I mean, both these guys score tremendously well. TJ Dillashaw, knockout wins, sub wins, decision wins 98, almost 99 points. Meanwhile, Sterling, knockout wins 111, sub wins 97, decision wins over 90, split decision wins 86. I mean, fantastic. These guys score well everywhere, no matter what the outcome of the fight is. I mean, wins over 90%, 77%, 92% for Dillashaw. Dillashaw, 77% of his wins over 100 points, guys. Holy crap. And then what? 7 of 13 wins over 110. This guy is, I mean, wow. I did not realize all that. I mean, both guys scoring from absolutely everywhere. Tons of takedown and control time points across the board. Dillashaw gives up next to none takedown and control time points, while Sterling has been, gives up his fair share. 81 points per minute in those two categories put together. So I'm rooting for Sterling, to be quite honest. I'm rooting for the Funk Master. I want to see him keep this title and kind of go on a little run here. I think he deserves it. But I mean, both these guys' strength of schedule is crazy high. Dillashaw is technically losing this battle, but both of them are ridiculously high. Very, very good. Sterling with two wins over Peter Yan, Corey Sandhagen, Pedro Munoz, and Jimmy Rivera. Dillashaw with wins over Sandhagen, Garbrandt, Lineker. Lost to Henry Cejudo, under a minute KO there. That was not a good look. But Sterling trending down while his opponents trend up. Meanwhile, TJ trending down, opponents trend up. Nothing really too surprising there. The battle of the real estate here is going to be mostly Dillashaw, with Aljo sticking out as far as strength of victory, and then the UFC win percentage, maybe a bit on grappling points per win as well. And then the aggregate finish, professional and UFC career finish rates, right about the same, 50% in wins, 43% in losses. I think this one goes all 5. This is a 5-round title fight. I think this goes all 5. I don't know what to do here. I'm going to have a ton of both sides. A ton. TJ Dillashaw's scoring potential is off the charts. You just heard all those numbers I mentioned. I mean, 7 of 13 fights over 110, 77% over 100. This guy is a scoring machine. And we'll see if he still has that scoring machine juice. You know what I mean? If he still has that juice about him to do that stuff. I don't really, that doesn't bother me. I think everyone should be on that stuff, to be quite honest, as far as for recovery and whatnot. But hey, I'm probably in the minority there. Aljamain Sterling, though, at 8,500 is a steal. Like I said, you are paying a bit over his average, but that's because he's been so low salaried in the Peter Yan fights. I mean, what was he against Peter Yan? 6,900, 7,800, 79 against Jimmy Rivera, 82 against Sandhagen. This guy is constantly being salaried low, meaning no one thinks he can win these fights, and he's the champ. Pulled off 4 in a row, easy, so not easy, but 4 in a row. Give me Sterling for the win, but I'm gonna have a ton of TJ Dillashaw in there as well. A ton. I think his scoring potential is much higher than Sterling's is. Sterling probably wins by decision. Dillashaw probably wins inside the distance. So give me a ton of both guys as far as I see it. And this one, the main event of the evening, guys, before we get into it, thank you so much for sticking with me here on the Monk Maddox channel. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe. Help me get to 400 subs by UFC 280. And if this helps you, hit that, drop a comment down below. Let me know what kind of stats you might want to see in the future and what stats are the most helpful. I absolutely love reading those, and I do respond to every single comment. So thank you a ton, guys. Main event of the evening, Charles Oliveira going against Islam Makhachev. I'm just going to get right to it, guys. I think Makhachev wins this. I don't think it's close. I'm probably in the minority on that as well. But yeah, I'm just on the Makhachev side. 8,400 for Makhachev, 78 for Oliveira. Both these guys making the optimal lineup in 2 of their past few fights. I mean, the scoring potential here is crazy. Oliveira, 3.5 points a minute, 95 per win. Makhachev, 4 points a minute, 100 per win. Does not give up any points. Did give up 101 when he in his one UFC loss. I forget who it was to. I do not have it here with me, but I'm sure it's I just can't remember off the top of my head. Only gives up 1.15 points per minute. 1.15 points per minute, the best number on the card. Oh yeah, Makhachev is also $980 under his average salary. Can you believe it? $980 under for Islam Makhachev. Meanwhile, Oliveira, $600 under his average. This is a main event where both guys are $1,500 cheaper combined than their average salaries. Absolutely fantastic. Both these guys are scoring machines. I mean, well into the 80s in decision wins for both guys. Triple digits as far as subs and TKOs go. 76% of the wins. Kenny. My cat is clawing at my door, so I should probably go let him in at some point. But we're almost done here. So if you hear some scratching, that's what that is. Charles Oliveira, 76% of his 21 UFC wins over 90, a third of them over 100. Islam Makhachev, 73% of his 11 wins over 90, actually 73% over 100, and 2 of them over 110. Can you believe it? Scores well over 2 points per minute in takedowns and control time. Meanwhile, Charles Oliveira gives up almost 1 point a minute in takedown and control time. Now, you got to be damn good on the ground to even think about taking Charles Oliveira down. He has the most submissions probably in the UFC. I think it's a record of something like that. 16 wins by submissions just in the UFC, guys. Just in the UFC. He has been finished 7 times. Out of 7 of his 8 losses have been finishes, so that is not something we're looking forward to. The strength of schedule is crazy good for Oliveira. It's basically 10 points better than Islam Makhachev. Hold on just a second. This cat is driving me absolutely. Oh my goodness. This is where editing would come into the picture, but we don't do that around here. At least not yet. I don't have time for that. This is UFC 280. We're getting it done. So excuse me, had to let my big boy in here. Got to get you on camera now that you interrupted the show. That's what you wanted the whole time. I know it. Strength of schedule, like I said, Charles Oliveira. Let's see. And his name is Kenny, named after Kendrick Lamar. Just so you know, his technical name is Kendrick. So there you go. That's how we do it around this neck of the woods. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. Tony, you've heard all these names. Makhachev beating Bobby Green on short notice. Dan Hooker, Thiago Moises, Drew Dober, and Davi Ramos. Obviously, one of these list of names is much more prolific than the other, which is reflected in the strength of schedule. That's why it's 10 points different. Both guys trending up, both opponents trending up. But look at this graph over here, guys, for Makhachev. I mean, talk about not even touching. This is insanity right here. This is, I mean, you could drive a truck through that gap right there. Here are my projections, much higher for Makhachev as you would expect. Aggregate pro and UFC career finishing percent, very high. 81% of their UFC wins have been finishes. 89% of their UFC losses have been finishes. I mean, it's basically the same in their career. I'm expecting Makhachev inside the distance. I'm going to be playing a ton of this fight. I mean, this is going to be everyone's highest owned fight. So you really have to think about leverage and your positions here. So you would think that most people would be picking Oliveira. I assume that a lot of people that bet with their heart are picking Oliveira. So I think he is going to be higher owned, especially at the dog price. So I'm thinking I'm going to take advantage of that, go under on Oliveira and way over on Islam Makhachev at 8,400. That's how I'm going to play this one. I just think Makhachev gets it done inside the distance. And if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong because who doesn't like Charles Oliveira? So give me Makhachev inside the distance. I just have a gut feeling that that's how this one's going to play out. Guys, we're at 49 minutes. Let's finish up here as promised. Remember, like and subscribe to the video. As promised, Monk picks, CM Monk's picks for UFC 280. Here we go. Karol Rosa by decision. Muhammad Mokaev by finish. Armin Petrosyan decision. Abubakar Nurmagomedov by decision. Magomed Mustafaev by finish. A lot of these fights are very, very lopsided according to Computer Monk and the stats. Our first underdog pick of the night is going to go Lucas Almeida by decision. Nikita Krylov finish. Kyle Borralho by finish. Interesting. Sean Brady by decision is what CM Monk likes. Men Fiorot by decision. Love that one. Daniil Dariush. Benil Dariush by finish. That, I think, is the most unlikely outcome, to be quite honest. It's also the closest lined fight. Now you want to get out? Oh, my God. The closest lined fight on the entire card, according to CM Monk, is within 0.5% of each other. Petrosyan by decision over Sean O'Malley. TJ Dillashaw by decision, another underdog play. And then in the the main event of the evening, Islam Makhachev by finish, just like I said. So we agree there for CM Monk over Charles Oliveira. Guys, that is going to do it. Oh my God, my cat is driving me insane. UFC 280. Check out my awesome thumbnail. I absolutely love it. Kenny, stop it. Oh my God, dude. He is crazy. He's trying to be the musical accompaniment to Kendrick Lamar, apparently, is what he's trying to do. So yeah, sorry for yelling at my cat there. But that's going to do it, guys. This has been Game Theory. UFC 280 is going down this Saturday. Get your lineups in. Get your bets in early, guys. This card starts at 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 Eastern. So get your lineups in the Friday before. Reserve your spaces in your contest right now so you have, especially that big boy, so you definitely can get those lineups in ahead of time. Guys, that's going to do it. Again, I want all of you to enjoy the fight. So enjoy, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.